Good morning everybody, it's Kevin Mullins here again on my YouTube channel. Thank you very much for tuning in. And today the weather in Malmesbury, it's okay. We had a whole load of snow on the weekend. It got cold. I think I recorded -8 in my car, which is pretty cold for this part of the world. Anyway, the kids have gone back to school. They're really annoyed that the snow only came and went, like within 48 hours it disappeared. But we can all get back to work now, which is great. So today I'm going to give you my top 10 tips for setting up a wedding photography business. Now, these tips aren't going to be technical. It's not going to be about using your camera or using lights, etc. It's more going to be about the business side of things. For those of you that don't know, my background in wedding photography, I've been shooting weddings now for nearly 10 years, since kind of 2008, something like that. And actually I fell into it just purely by luck. I had no ambition whatsoever to be a photographer, none. I was doing a day job in London. I was commuting 5 hours, 2.5 hours each way every day. And one day I was a bit tired. I was trying to think of a way out of the industry that I was in. We just had a new baby. I just bought a new camera. And I was sat on the train and I picked up a magazine, you know, one of those free magazines that people leave on the tube stations. I picked it up and it was something that somebody had just left on the seat next to me. Picked it up, I immediately opened it to page whatever it wasn't the front. And there was an interview, actually it was an article about wedding photography, and in there was an interview with a guy called Jeff Askoff. Now, I looked at Jeff's pictures and I immediately fell in love with them. I thought, wow, these are just great. This is what wedding photography should be like in my kind of little mind. That's what I was thinking. And you know, all of the weddings I'd been to at that point, remember this was like 10 years ago, all of the weddings I'd been to at that point were all very, very traditional. You had the photographer, he'd stand on a stepladder, he'd tell everybody where to go. The wedding was always organized by the photographer. And you know, there was nothing wrong with that whatsoever. It's just the way that it was. And to a certain extent, some people still shoot that way. And that's absolutely fine too, of course. But I was looking at Jeff's pictures and I thought, my God, these are amazing. These are beautiful. And his pictures are still beautiful and still amazing. And I took that magazine home to my wife and I said to her, Jem, I think I've got the answer. I'm going to be a wedding photographer. Now, she kind of looked at me and she was like, well, there's a couple of problems with that, Kev. One, you don't really have a camera. You've just got that little point and shoot thing that you bought. I'm sure you can't photograph weddings with that. And also, you're just a little bit grumpy. I don't think you'll be very good at it, she said. Well, maybe she's right. Maybe I'm not very good at it. I don't know. But I've photographed well over 400 weddings since. So one of the things that I did do right at the beginning, though, is do a lot of research. And I photographed, after that kind of first time I picked up that magazine, I photographed my first wedding around about 6 months later. So we kind of went into it, and then a year later I shot 71 weddings, or 70 weddings, something like that. And you know, it's been a bit of a roller coaster ride ever since, ups and downs, mostly ups, and it's a great business and I love being in this business. But today I'm going to give you my 10 top tips for setting up your wedding photography business, if that is of interest to you. So let's go. Tip number 1, of course, you absolutely have to find your own style. Now, like I said right at the beginning, I kind of fell into this and I looked at these beautiful reportage pictures that I was looking at, and I thought, hey, that's exactly how I want to photograph weddings. And that's pretty much how I've done it ever since. Of course, it was a little bit rolly in the beginning and I had kind of a few ups and downs. But, you know, by and large, I've stuck to that style and I'm very happy with that style, and it means that I can go to a wedding and enjoy it. Now, that doesn't mean, of course, that documentary style wedding photography is the only way. It's definitely not the right way or the only way, of course. But there are, you know, there's lots of people out there that end up shooting weddings in a style that they don't particularly enjoy. Now, that may be that they shoot weddings in a documentary style, but they would rather be doing editorial, or they shoot more formal portraits and they'd rather be shooting in a documentary style. Whatever happens, you have to find your style, and that will take a little bit of time. So definitely find your own style, decide what you like. That's the key thing, what you like, because if you don't like it, then you're not going to enjoy it. And that leads us on to point number 2. So point number 2 is wedding photography is a vocation. Now, if I ask you, hands up, everybody who's watching this, hands up if when you left school, you wanted to be a wedding photographer, I can't see any hands up. I bet you any money none of you have put your hands up to say that you wanted to be a wedding photographer when you leave school. It just doesn't happen, right? You might want to be a fashion photographer, or you might want to be a music photographer, or you might want to be, I don't know, a landscape photographer. wedding photographer, that's not really something that comes to people's minds when they leave school. And like I said, you kind of fall into it. It may well be that you've bought a new camera and somebody says to you, hey, you've got a new camera, that's a big camera, can you photograph my wedding? And you can do that, that's not a problem. Or you end up taking your camera to a friend's wedding and you take some shots and they really like it. And that's kind of what happened to me. And then you think, actually, I really enjoyed this, so maybe I'll try and set a business up. So by and large, that means that you become a wedding photographer for some kind of vocational reason. It's not necessarily something you decide to do from school. So that means that you're doing it because you want to do it. Okay, it's not a necessity. It's not just something to pay the bills. You're doing it because you either wanted a change of lifestyle or you're doing it because you really enjoy it. Now, that means that you should continue to enjoy it and continue to do it on the terms that you like. So the point I'm trying to make is that, you're doing this because you want to do it. Hey, you know what? I used to play rugby every Saturday. I can't play rugby any longer. I can't do the stuff that I want to do on the weekends because I'm a wedding photographer. That releases a whole load of other time during the week, of course, and my family life and everything else is much better. But that's because I made that decision to move away from that corporate lifestyle and bring myself into this world of wedding photography where I have much more control over my own destiny, much control over my own business, and much more control over my own time. So try not to lose sight of that fact. When you get going in your photography business, your wedding photography business, you're going to end up, probably 6 months in, a year in, you're going to end up scratching your head a little bit and you're going to end up thinking, oh, I just want to take this, these cheaper weddings, or I just want to take this particular wedding that I know they don't really want my style, but I'm going to take it just for the money. And what will happen then, the more you do that, the more you'll fall out of love with it, the more you will hate it, the more the whole point of that vocation will go away. And then you'll probably end up stop doing it and you'll go back to the day job. You'll go back to whatever you were doing beforehand. So always remember that you're doing this really not only to make other people's pictures and memories and curate their memories, but also you're doing it to try and give yourself a better lifestyle and a happier lifestyle. Okay, so we talked a little bit about style and this idea of it being a bit of a vocation. So point number 3 is only show what you want to shoot. Now, you'd be amazed how many photographers fall over at this trap. I get a lot of people say to me, hey Kev, you know what, I'd really love to shoot documentary style weddings, but the clients that come into me, they want all of these group shots and lots of editorial portraits, etc., etc. How do I do it? How do I get to this point where I'm attracting clients that want documentary style photography? And the fact is, as soon as I look at their website, the very first picture is perhaps a very beautiful portrait, bridal portrait, or it's a dress hung up on a chair, or it's a group shot of the boys before the wedding. And these pictures may well be very nice. And that is going to attract those type of clients. Now, the fact is, even in this world that we live in now, where social media and we're being bombarded with images all the time, people are aware of imagery, people are aware of style, and people are aware of what they want. So don't be afraid to just show on your website, show in your branding, in all of your marketing, on your social media, your Instagram, etc. Just show what you want to shoot. Doesn't matter what that is, but make sure it's not the opposite of what you want to do. Like I say, if you want to shoot lots of bridal portraits, then show your beautiful bridal portraits. I have some very good friends in the industry who are what I would consider the best of those kinds of photographers. And their Instagram and their social media is full of these absolutely mind-blowing bridal portraits. And they attract clients that want that. For me, it's the other way around. I particularly prefer to shoot documentary style weddings, and so my social media and my website is geared up to attract those people. So that brings me on to point number 4, which is about your website. And websites these days are very easy to set up, pretty much. I have a WordPress website for my wedding photography website. I use Squarespace for some of my other websites. And I think that, getting running with a website is it's a no-brainer. It's very easy to do these days. These content management systems allow you to get up and running very quickly, but it's something you absolutely have to do. And regardless of whether you think your business is going to come from referrals, word of mouth, past clients, wedding planners, wedding venues, bridal shows, people will go straight to your website. So if you're ever looking at your website and you're thinking, oh, I don't know, it needs a bit of a lick of a paint. I don't like that image there. My portfolio hasn't been updated. I need to really start working on a blog post. Then that's what your clients are going to be thinking too. It's what Google's going to be thinking too. So if you don't love your website, nobody else will too. So spend time on your website, spend time on your social media, spend time on that element of marketing. It's probably the most important thing, I think, in terms of your first impression. When people come to your website, you've got around about 3 seconds of their time to try and trap them in there. So your website needs to be quick to load. It needs to be very easy and obvious to navigate. It needs to show your style very quickly with images. And it needs to really attract people. It needs to be something that people are excited to be viewing, excited to be reading. It definitely mustn't be a chore for them to go to that website. Tip number 5 is about cohesion. Cohesion, it's easy for you to say. So cohesion as in your images and the style that you shoot, and also your editing. I think this is kind of important. So if you look at my website, you will see pretty much, well, not all of them, but a vast majority of the images are shot with the 23 and the 56mm lens. And that's what I show on my website. Now, the reason I do that is because obviously that's how I shoot. I typically shoot with 2 cameras, one with a 23mm lens, one with a 56mm lens. Now, if I want my clients to understand the types of images they're going to get, that's what I want to do. I want to make it as simple as possible and show them those types of images. So by using 2 fixed prime lenses, I'm basically encouraging them, well, not encouraging them, but psychologically showing them what they can expect, the kind of focal length that they can expect, the field of view they can expect, the type of images I'm going to kind of try and produce for them. Now, it's one of the reasons why I don't typically use zooms. There's nothing wrong with zooms, of course, but I try not to use them because I do find that when I'm editing those images, me as the viewer of those images, I'm a little bit confused in my mind. There's long shots, there's short shots, there's wide shots. And so just for my own particular style, I prefer to use 2 fixed prime lenses. And I think that kind of helps the clients understand also what they're going to get. Now, in terms of cohesion also, this rides all the way through to your editing style and the way that you put your blog posts together or the way you put your albums together. So, for example, on my website, I will use this idea of islands of color. Now, that means that if I'm going to show a full wedding, it may well be that bridal prep is all black and white, the ceremony is all colour, all of the outside shots are black and white, or all of the dancing shots are in colour. What I typically try and avoid is something like, during bridal prep, colour shot, black and white, colour, colour, black and white, colour, black and white. I find that jarring on my own eyes, and I think that would be jarring on the client's eyes when they're looking. Also, from a storytelling point of view, I think it helps with the flow of the story. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean, of course, you have to shoot in black and white or colour or whatever on the day. You can shoot raw and you can edit accordingly. But having a fixed style of editing is going to help you. There's lots of people that I see who have, when you look at their blog posts or their portfolio, they have a black and white image, a colour image, then a sepia image, then a different edited style, black and white, then a deeper colour to contrast the image. And I think that just adds a little bit of confusion to the clients. Now, of course, we all change our editing style and we all work in different ways. But just have a look at your website, have a look at your branding, have a look at the way that your images are displayed on the screen. Do they look beautiful? That's the most important thing from the editing point of view. Do they look beautiful? You have to be happy with your style, of course, and your clients will be happy, or the clients that choose you will be happy. But I think it's going to be a lot easier to attract clients when you have a cohesion to your editing style. We see a lot of stuff these days, a lot of plugins, VSCO and Alien Skin, etc. And they're all very, very good. There's nothing wrong with them whatsoever. But if you're going to use them, try and be consistent with them, is my advice. And try and find a style, find a preset, find a filter, find your own preset that works for you and stick with it, rather than kind of swap in and out and follow all of the fads and the fashions, because I think that can just confuse people a little bit more. Point number 6. Now, this is something that I think everybody goes through, but perhaps it's not as important as some of the other tips. But point number 6 is don't fear other photographers. Don't worry about what other photographers are going to be thinking about you or your work. The other photographers are not the people who are going to pay you. The people who are going to pay you are your clients, your wedding clients. They are the most important people at all times during this process. Now, of course, don't get me wrong. I sometimes look at my own images and I think, oh, I don't know, are they good enough? What are people going to think, etc. But really, that has to be put right to the back in mind. I had about 4 or 5 years ago, I had a real kind of confidence problem. And, I stopped blogging, I stopped putting images online, I was getting emails from other photographers. And, at the end of the day, my wife again, she just kind of said to me, look, it's nothing to do with them. It's nothing to do with other photographers. Don't care what they think. Now, of course, some people move on and will do workshops and run courses, etc. And so to a certain extent, photographers are part of your business model and are part of the clientele, if you like. But from a wedding photography point of view, they aren't. Do not worry what other people are going to think. When it comes to putting your blog posts online, put on the images that you're happy with, put on the images that you think will attract new clients, put on the images that make you smile, make your clients smile. That's the important thing. Don't worry about what other photographers are going to think. This social world we live in, there's an element of vitriol in it, there's an element of hate in it, which is a terrible thing. But just close yourself off to those people. It's not needed, it's not necessary. The wedding clients are your number one priority. Don't fear, don't worry about what other photographers will think about your work. Now, on that same point number 7, it's kind of related. Point number 6 was about not fearing what other photographers are going to think about your work. But point number 7 is don't look for adulation from other photographers. Now, we all, of course, now don't get me wrong at all, we all want people to like our pictures. And we all put pictures on Facebook, and we all put pictures on Instagram, and we all want other photographers to like those pictures. Nobody wants people to dislike your pictures. However, always remember, like I said in point 6, always remember that the wedding clients are the most important people. I know people who will refuse weddings because it's not in the right place where they can go and get a portfolio picture, or it's not in the right place where they might get a picture. They want to build a picture, the award season's coming up. They need to get awards, so they're going to turn away work, or they're not going to choose those clients because they want to make award-winning pictures. And to me personally, I might be the one in the wrong here with this mindset, but for me personally, it should be the other way around. It should be, I want to make beautiful pictures for my wedding clients, and then after that, if I get an award-winning picture out of it, or I get a portfolio picture out of it, that's a bonus. It shouldn't really be about, I want to make award-winning pictures, and if the clients get good pictures from that, then that's the bonus. That to me is the wrong way around. Like I say, maybe it's just me, I might be the one in the minority with this. But this whole idea of adulation from other photographers, I run Facebook groups for wedding photographers, and one of the rules that we have in those groups is that actually we don't want this, the whole kind of drop the mic stuff that goes on. These groups are for helping photographers. They're there to give business advice and technical advice, etc. When photographers come on there and just go, hey, here's a picture I took, isn't it great? Who cares? Yes, it may well be great, but we can go to your website and see that. I don't care, really. I don't want to see it on social media. I don't want to see it on a Facebook group that's for photographers. Of course, take that beautiful picture and put it in a Facebook group that's aimed at brides and grooms, but not necessarily other photographers. I think it's a problem for some people, and we see it all the time. You will have seen it if you're a wedding photographer. You will have seen it. Just remember, guys, that it's really the clients that are the important people. I think they're the ones that are paying the bills, and the awards are nice, of course, and the competitions are nice, and all of that stuff is great, and we all want other people to like our pictures. But that's not where it starts. That should really be at the end of the line. The starting point should be getting the clients to like our pictures. So point number 7 there was don't necessarily look for adulation from other photographers. So point number 8 is about accountability and pricing. Now, of course, I can't tell you what to charge. My charges change sometimes, when the economic circumstances change, etc. Everybody's based in a different part of the country, a different part of the world. Everything is different. Now, I'm not here to say that you can charge a low rate and that's a bad thing. Charge a high rate and that's a good thing. Absolutely not. We all start at a certain point. My very first wedding was £200. That's what I charged. So I have no kind of conditions or complaints whatsoever about what people charge. My only kind of query really is that if you are setting up a business, remember it's a business. The word business is important there. So just play by the rules of your land, register your business. Make sure you declare the amounts that you're earning. Make sure that you pay your relevant taxes. Make sure you have insurance. Make sure that you have all of the ethical elements of running a business down to the T. Please just don't take cash in hand and then just turn up to a wedding, because you are not only are you putting yourself at risk, but you're also putting your clients at risk. If things go wrong with your equipment, your insurance won't be covered if you're just doing cash in hand. All that kind of stuff is really important, and just for the sake of the whole community and the sake of the whole industry, then that kind of pricing mechanism isn't really going to support it. It's a very, very short-term practice, and it's going to be a race to the bottom, definitely. So just remember the ethics of business. Remember the word business, like I said, and all the things that go with it. In your land, different things, different rules, different laws, but just play by the rules. And if everybody played by the rules, then it would be a much fairer playing field, I guess. Okay, so point number 9 out of these 10 tips is about social media. And again, this is a little bit of a curveball. I really think so many of us, so many photographers forget the word social in social media. You know what? I think some people replace the word social with aggressive guerrilla marketing. Social media really, for me, especially things like Instagram, again, it needs to be, it's a conduit to try and get people to come to your website. It's not about impressing other photographers. It's not about just getting the most likes. It's not about having the most followers. It really should be about getting business and getting clients. Please don't fall into the trap of thinking the more followers you have, the better it's going to be. You know, that's just not the case. It's not true. Now, we can use tools like Social Blade to look at people's Instagram accounts, and you can quite easily see people who are buying Instagram followers and buying likes. It's very simple. And, you know, if your ambition is simply to be a brand ambassador and take a quick shortcut to the top, then really, I think the boat has sailed on that one. I don't think that the brands these days can have the wool pulled over their eyes, if you like. So remember social media, remember the purpose for it. The purpose is to use it as a marketing mechanism in a social mechanism. So, you know, when I put images on social media, I reply to the comments. I just use like 2, 3, maybe 4 or 5 max hashtags. You know, it does my head in when you see a wedding, you know, you see a picture, hashtag wedding, hashtag wedding dress, hashtag white wedding dress, hashtag white, hashtag shoes, hashtag white shoes, hashtag. I'm like, oh my God, you know what? I've stopped looking at this already straight away. Now, of course, you know, hashtags are useful because they allow people to search through Instagram and kind of get to the point, to the images that they're trying to search for. But what are they going to do when they get there? Are they just going to be switched off straight away because of all of the hashtags? Or would they much rather see a much more conversational post, a piece of information about that picture, and people answering and people responding and people conversing? So tip number 10 is realising that it's hard. It's a bloody hard industry to be in. It's a hard job. It's a fun job. It's a rewarding job. Don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to kind of knock you back at all, but I'm just trying to prepare you for the fact that if you are setting up as a wedding photographer right now, it's hard. It's hard to get clients. It's hard to form relationships. It's hard to get on the books of wedding venues. It's hard, but the harder you work, much like everything else in life, the rewards will come your way. I definitely believe that. Now, I've been photographing weddings since 2008. So like my 10-year anniversary is going to be on the 9th of August 2008. And the one thing that still happens to me almost every Saturday is when, you know, you see your kids, it's Saturday morning, Gemma and the kids, they're having their breakfast, they're about to go out to see my parents or go to the beach or whatever. And, you know, nobody wants to be in front of tears from their kids. Nobody wants their kids crying because daddy's going away for the day or mummy's going away for the day. You know, the kids go to school all week, and I do my absolute level best to be with them during the week. Last night I took Albie to football, tonight I'll take Rosa to judo. I'm pretty much there when they come home from school. I absolutely have a very, very good work-life balance. However, you know, you still have to be prepared for the fact that it's a Saturday. You know, I used to play rugby every Saturday. I can no longer play rugby every Saturday. My life is definitely very different. It's better, and it's definitely changed for the better. But just guys, beware that it's hard. It's a hard industry. And like I say, the harder you work, the better it will be. But just try not to take shortcuts. You know, try not to, if you've been shooting weddings for 5 months, you're not likely to become an ambassador for a brand. Or if you've been shooting weddings for 5 months, you probably shouldn't be giving workshops on shooting weddings. You know, these things will come, and, you know, there may be exceptions to those rules, but the harder you work, these things will happen for sure, or can happen. So always remember, I've tried to curate these 10 points for setting up a wedding photography business to bring us back to one very salient point, if you like. And that's the fact that always remember that being a wedding photographer is about other people. It's about their wedding day, it's about their pictures, it's about curating their memories. It's not necessarily about us. Yes, we have to enjoy it and we have to make a good living out of it, but it's not about the awards, it's not about the social media, it's not about looking good on Facebook when we put our pictures on there, etc. It's really ultimately about making money to feed the children, feed the family, having a good lifestyle, and delivering pictures for other people to be very happy with. So there you go, top 10 tips for setting up your wedding photography business. I hope you found them a little bit useful. Some of them probably a little bit more useful than others, perhaps. And of course, it's not just about those things. There's a whole lot more to it. You know, the equipment, the style, the shooting, all of that kind of stuff, the business management, everything else. But hopefully those little tips will give you something to think about, at least, as you start on your journey in this amazing career that is a wedding photographer. So if you like the video, please like it down below. Feel free to subscribe. If you hit that little bell icon down there, then you will get notifications of future videos, of which there will be many over this year. And thank you very much for tuning in, and I hope to see you again next time.